See who's here. And if it feels good, have some thoughts of gratitude for a beautiful day, a beautiful venue. Clearly you have the health to be here, the wealth to be here, the time to be here, the world to be here, compass mentors, awaken alert. Some people couldn't be here even if they wanted to. So thank you again for your beautiful home. So this morning we're going to look at memory reconsolidation in the matrix. You can also download a copy of what you have in your hands on deepliving.com/MR for matrix reimprinting or memory reconsolidation, whichever one you like it to be. What you can download off the website is a copy of a client session that I did, where as I go through the client session, I said, now we're moving to step 2, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then now we're moving to step 3, we've just done this, we're ready to move to this step, so I kind of teach as we do the client session, was the Sharon in Pretoria. And then also there's a PDF transcript of that particular client session, which you can download for free. So I mentioned yesterday I was asked not to give this out to the public because Carl wanted people to come here and do the training. If you do want a copy of that, email me afterwards and I'll send you a copy of it. And then ask that you only share it with people that have actually trained with the official Matrix trainer. So feel free to use it, share it wisely only. So I don't know, maybe like me, you may have wondered why sometimes some of your own personal sessions, you may feel great afterwards, or not even, but then the work doesn't seem to last. Before you know it, it's like the same stuff comes back. It's like, you know, you may feel good for half a day or a day or a week, but then it seems like the old patterns come back. Now I had the same question very much with myself, because that was very much my experience, even with EFT, and you know, the list of things I've tried is very long, and nothing really seemed to ever last. I mean, I had some breakthroughs, and I shared with you, like my fear of public speaking completely went away, you know, going red in the neck and all panicky and whatever. It's like, hey, suddenly I love this and love talking to people because I'm understanding it's not really me doing anything, it's just me having a conversation. And mostly I'm not nervous about having a conversation. But the real deep life stuff didn't really seem to change. For example, I'm 47 now, I've been single most of my life. I was single before my current relationship for 9 years. Like, why? And I've worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, but never had the confidence to go on a date. And then when I did, it just, you know, it wasn't going to work. I just knew inside myself it didn't feel good. It was all like panicky and insecure and unworthy and that stuff. And then as these things happen, I really believe that as we start putting questions out sincerely and repetitively, then the answers come in some way, shape or form. And I have no idea how I discovered the book by Bruce Ecker called Unlocking the Emotional Brain. I can't remember who recommended it, where did I hear about it, because I get recommendations for lots of books. So I think I was talking to Monique the other day, you know, there's usually 5 or 6 books by the bedside, so somebody sends me stuff, I'm like, listen, it's not even on the bedside table yet, so I'll get to it maybe next year. Thank you, really keep sending, and just know I'm not going to necessarily give you feedback on it tomorrow. Unless it's your own book that you want published and you want me to read it for feedback, I'll read it, I'll make time, I'll change priorities. Anyway, however I got to the book, I read it, Unlocking the Emotional Brain, and really understood for the first time how beliefs actually work. And how beliefs actually work, we're talking about beliefs that have an emotional component. Talking about some stuff that we spoke about yesterday, children between the age of 0 and 7, mostly in a hypnagogic state, they do not have beta brainwaves to filter out the noise and the criticism and the judgments from truth. They don't, so it just kind of all goes in. And if a belief like that, an emotional belief, like a teacher shouting at a child, you'll never amount to anything, and in that moment it has an emotional impact on a child, then what will happen, well, the limbic brain doesn't look anything like this, but if you just imagine, then what will actually happen is that belief will be embedded in the limbic brain as a physical structure in the brain. It's not just, you know, beliefs, as we spoke yesterday, it's kind of this esoteric thing. Well, actually it's not. You can see it under a microscope. So locked in nicely is I'll never amount to anything. And then for all the reasons that we did talk about yesterday also, about the reticular activating system and vibration and law of attraction and creation, all that stuff, this will pretty much be a big part of what the person experiences as they go through life. Now, either they will never really amount to anything and they won't understand why, The opportunities just won't open for them. Or when opportunities open, they probably won't last. They'll do something, they get sacked, or the company will go bust, or whatever. You know, things will happen out of their control completely that I totally sincerely believe consciously they would never want for themselves or anybody else. Oh, there it happens again. You see, I told you I'll never amount to anything. Now, of course, the more we experience something, the more we believe this is the way it is, right? So now we're talking about even strengthening that spiral from a law of attraction point of view, vibrational point of view. This becomes part of the identity. Oh, I'm just somebody. So now we respond and react accordingly. So we'll probably go into some shame or frustration or anger or jealousy or something else, which is not going to help you to amount to anything, yes? It's all, now we say we self-sabotage, but actually all we're doing is such a ridiculous notion that we self-sabotage. No, all we're doing is we're just living out the belief that's there, that is for most people completely unconscious. And that's the beautiful bit of what we do, is to start listening to people, start noticing and observing how they talk, how they act, how they make the appointment, how do they show up for sessions, how do they take their homework, how do they respond to questions, what's the body posture, and start noticing what's not being said, but more often noticing what is being said. And somebody who believes they'll never amount to anything, that'll pretty much be the flavor of what they talk about. That will be the lenses through which they look at life. So instead of saying, oh, there's a new company in town, you know, so there's lots of job opportunities, they may say the opposite. Oh, you know, I probably won't get in. Or be upset more than other people because job opportunities have closed down somewhere else, or something like that. There'll be some emotional filter through which they look at life. Quite understandably, this is locked in the limbic brain. So when Bruce Ecker and his partner read some neuroscientific research that said they discovered 3 steps to actually change beliefs in the limbic brain where they are stored. Understand when you or somebody else do positive affirmations, in some ways they can be like putting icing on a mud cake. They are not necessarily addressing the root belief in the limbic system. So what you do, you may very well with positive affirmations, if they're said with enough oomph and vuma and emotion and repetition every day, you will form new neural pathways in your mind along those lines. Like, what will be a positive opposite to I'll never amount to anything?
I can do anything.
Okay, good. I can do anything. If said with enough emphasis and enough repetition and enough say it again until you actually start believing it, there will be a new neural pathway in your brain with that thought as well. So now you've got 2. You've got the new consciously created one, I can do anything, and you have this one stored typically unconsciously in the limbic brain. So this one is fine on a good day, when you have the conscious choice. You know where I'm going with this? Yes, you do. The minute you're under stress, your limbic brain rules 9 days out of 9. It's done. You have no conscious choice. So suddenly you go from this to going for the job interview and you bungle the whole thing. You forget your words, you show up late, you wear the wrong clothes, you spill the guy's coffee over his notes, whatever. You say the most stupid thing. You're like, holy moly, what did I really just say that? So when Bruce Ecker then read this neuroscientific research that explained the 3 steps to what's now called memory reconsolidation, and the reason for the name, what do you think? Why is it called memory reconsolidation? The old belief got consolidated in the brain physically. Synapses lock in, locked. So now we want to reconsolidate. And yes, so we want to actually open the synapses that locks us in, replace it with a new belief, and then lock it in. So that this becomes the default program. So you don't need that much. If this is the blueprint we spoke about yesterday, this is like, well, of course, I can do anything. I just heard your son sing this morning. I believe I can fly. And I'm thinking, if you just keep on singing that and thinking that, because he's still under 7, his life would be remarkably different. When he's allowed to do that, as you did, as opposed to saying, that'd be ridiculous, you don't fly. Which would be a natural response for a grumpy parent, yes? So allowing that type of thinking, this is going into the limbic brain. He's starting to believe he can, because there's no proof to the opposite, to the contrary. There's no emotional shutdown about you'll never amount to anything. And if you think about it, you know, it's so easy to go and judge parents. and blame them as bad people. When you think about it, why would a parent, other than just having a bad day, why would a parent shut down a child who sings, I believe I can fly? What do you think may be happening for that parent?
They've got their own stuff.
They've got their own stuff, and their own stuff is typically, they have this, so this is either just what they truly believe, or they have their own shame about this, and therefore need to shut other people down. At least they can feel good for a while. When, of course, the shame then just comes back just a little bit more because of what they just done. You just get it. So we're a whole shame spiral as opposed to the opposite. Anyway, when Bruce Ecker and his partner started reading this research, they suddenly understood why they had amazing results with a technique they called coherence therapy, because they were doing all 3 steps. And what he then went on to do was to write the book with her, Unlocking the Emotional Brain, where they explain not only coherence therapy, but how to use these 3 steps in whatever you do. So they have about 5 or 6 different techniques. One of them is called EFT, but it's not the EFT, tapping EFT that we're familiar with. One is EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization routine. So pretty much in any technique, if you employ these 3 steps, then memory reconsolidation happens. So I said yesterday that if you want something done, I suggest you work with the best person that you can find. So I was like, well, I want to learn from him. So I couldn't get through to him initially. He was busy and teaching and this and that, so I persisted, because things don't always work out the first time you try. And then you have a choice. Go, oh, well, I did try and contact him. Couldn't get through. I was like, no, I want to work with him. I decided, that was my GPS. I wanted to work with Bruce Ecker. I wanted to learn from the man who wrote the book. So I did some private sessions with him over a long time, so I got to know him. Understand also the purpose of the sessions is always for me is dual purpose. I want my own transformation, yes? Help me change this stuff, but I want to also learn how you work. It's like, he just said that. I like that. I may use that. Yes, he's a very beautiful man. If you get to work with him, I highly recommend his work and the book. That's why it's in your reading list. So that's the purpose of this session. I started wondering then, why even with something as powerful as Matrix, do some people have miraculous breakthroughs? Nigel, after 5 sessions, the voice that I'm not good enough has never come back 4 years on, nor has it any reason to come back. And other people, tomorrow seems to be just the same old story. They leave the session going, oh, that was amazing, thank you so much, I feel so much better. And the next week it's like, oh no, it's just the same old stuff, yes? So I noticed that in Matrix, on a good day, we cover these 3 steps. Not that we ever meant to. Carl never had this in his mind when he gave us Matrix. But it's almost like coincidentally, we covered these 3 steps. So all I did, and this is what we're going to go through, is to make sure that we explicitly include these steps. And also what's different in your handouts is I actively use eye movements, because moving the eyes seem to have incredible processing power. It's like, why wouldn't you? So got this also from Bruce's section in the book on EMDR, and use some of the exact same words and the exact same techniques. Understand, nothing that you read there is mine. It's just making the memory reconsolidation more explicit in our Matrix sessions. I really believe that successful people implement quickly. So even as I've read the book, I started implementing stuff immediately and started seeing quite amazing results, and suggest that you consider doing the same. Today when you go into your pairs, there's an uneven number. So if you pick somebody that was here this morning, let me rephrase. If you end up with somebody that was here this morning, feel free to employ those steps. If you work with somebody who wasn't here, cut the steps out, because it wouldn't be fair, it would confuse them, they wouldn't know what you're doing. Yes? So there. So then on the handout, let's take a look at the 3 steps that the neuroscientists said these are the only steps known to mankind or womankind to actually change beliefs in the limbic system. What's the first step?
Reactivate original learning.
Reactivate the original learning. We're going to go through each one in detail. Let's just get them all out. What's the second one? Mismatch and unlock. In a nutshell, this is where you present the limbic brain with contradicting information that it goes, what now? I thought it was never going to amount to anything. What's this thing now? It doesn't make any sense, right? It's almost like Bruce calls it a novelty factor. And the limbic brain goes, oh, I want to pay attention to this because this is very different to what I've been used to. So that's kind of the way I see it. So it's a fun step for me. And when you think about it in the Matrix, don't we already kind of do that? We have the old picture and the new picture. We already have the thing. All we want to do with this step in the matrix is just make the client more aware of the contrast between them. Because what happens in that moment when you do this step, the synapses unlocks. Open for change, malleable, plastic, whatever words you want to use for that. If you do nothing else, within about 4 or 5 hours, synapses will lock in again and it'll be business as usual. Does it make more sense why sometimes people feel great, but tomorrow it's the same old stuff? Because step 3 wasn't done. That's what. So what does it say on your handout? What is step 3?
Replacing the old learning belief with a new one.
So step 3 is where we do the replacing. And can you get a sense how different this is from installing another one in another part of the brain where you have 2 and under stress the old one will always win? This is like installing a new one where it matters. So under stress you will default to what the limbic brain says. That's why it's called the emotional brain. When you have high levels of emotion, that's the brain that gets activated. So that's the bit that gets activated when you do things that you call stupid or silly or ridiculous or pathetic or whatever word you want to use. All that's happening is your limbic brain got activated, and that's ruling logic and common sense and reason and spirituality and presence and power and all the other things that are dandy about life. All right, so let's go through the handout and go through them step by step. Let's just do the first page quickly.